and today I will be talking about opioid related deaths and how the US has been dealing with this issue versus Switzerland. So, if you look at my first graph here, it talks about the three waves that are related to opioid overdose deaths. So, the first one was abuse of prescriptions in the 1990s, and then we have a rise in heroin, and then wave three, which is from 2013 to current times, is the abuse of fentanyl, which is a synthetic opioid. As you can see on the graph, there is a huge exponential increase of deaths related to overdose with the introduction of fentanyl and other synthetic opioids. Just to put it in perspective, fentanyl is 50 times stronger than heroin. So, this is a substance that needs to be taken seriously. It's very harmful. So, if you look here, the United States is the leading country with the most amount of drug related overdose deaths. And then Switzerland is towards the bottom here with one of the lowest. Obviously, there's a huge gap between these two. And so I wanted to question, what's Switzerland doing versus the US that has brought them success that I think the US could use to, lower the amount of deaths that we see related to opioid abuse. So, I think it's important to talk about the main demographic that is being targeted and abusing these substances, which is the homeless population. The homeless population is actually 9 times more likely to die from an overdose related to opioids. So, if you look here on this graph, overdose is the leading cause of death for homeless people, being significantly more harmful than heart disease, COVID-19, any type of transportation accidents. So that's just crazy. So, as for Switzerland's approach, they use a 4-pillar approach which introduces prevention, therapy, harm reduction, and law enforcement. I think that this is great because it shows a bunch of like important buildings coming together and groups of people. So, law enforcement goes out, they find where people are abusing these substances, and they reach out to other people and say, hey, this is where this is happening, this is the group where it's being happened at. And I think that's important because you're going directly to the source. So there's law enforcement that does that, and then law enforcement goes ahead and goes up to these people and gives them the resources that they need to get help if they want it. They're not forcing anyone to get help, they're just telling them that it's an option. And then obviously you don't just quit overnight, and that's fine. No, they continue with therapy treatment for all these people, and they do a great job of harm reduction as well. So, Narcan in the US, that's an example of harm reduction. So the US does a great job with that, but I think the 4-pillar approach, the US using it to unite entities within the United States, is great. So law enforcement, hospital system, social services, that's all need to come together to help fight this problem. So another huge thing that needs to be brought up is that 100% of Switzerland's population has insurance. They can all go up and get the help that they need, but in the US, we don't have free health care. So it's important for these people to know that there are resources that can be used by them if they're uninsured, or they're unable to get a job that has a private employee plan, that there's still services that they can use, and that's where the police would go up and tell them, which I think is a great thing. And it's also important to know that in cities, I think that's the areas that should be specifically targeted, such as the homeless population in Boston. 1 in 4 deaths are related to drug overdose. So, targeting cities, finding those areas, using the law enforcement, I think this is a great way that the U.S. should incorporate in order to help fight this